Another week has come and gone. It's President's Day weekend, and last year we were waiting for the massive polar vortex split on this weekend, Joe.
But this week, or this year, it's a little bit different than last year.
It's a lot a bit different.
Quite a bit different. Joe Rayo, Fios One News, Lower Hudson Valley.
And Joe Chaffee, Fios One News, New Jersey, and Fios One News, Long Island, on this Friday night. It's been an interesting week. We actually had a snow event this week with the snow and the sleet and the freezing rain and the rain.
The freezing rain. We may actually have finally a snow event coming up that will not transition over to sleet and ice. We may just have a flat-out straight snow event. Not a whole heck of a lot of snow, but enough maybe.
You're about for Sunday night and Monday morning.
Right, enough to make people excited, and then we'll have something else coming our way about the middle or latter part of next week.
Which, by the way, I've been arguing that the one for the middle of next week really kind of looks like what we just had.
Right.
The overall look of the upper air is almost the same. The surface pattern is almost the same. They're never exact, but we always say, it rhymes.
Right.
In winter seasons, oftentimes weather systems come out the same way, one after another. And I think that's what we're seeing for the middle part of next week.
This one may be a little different in terms of timing. Of course, the one we had earlier this week moved in right toward the end of the morning commute. This one may come a bit later, perhaps along about the late morning or early afternoon on Wednesday.
Yeah, but we'll figure it out when we get there.
Yeah, we did a hit with our Hudson Valley news anchor Mike Gilliam. Finished off on one of our weathercasts by saying, look, don't even think about next week. Just get out and enjoy the holiday week. It's a holiday weekend. Put it all out of your mind. And for those of you snow lovers, yeah, you'll get a little bit of a cheap thrill probably Sunday night.
It's a big ski weekend, too, President's Day weekend. And the ski conditions upstate and in New England are actually terrific. A lot of new snow that was picked up, especially in the mountains. And I noticed packed powder conditions everywhere.
Right.
I'm not a skier because I have this philosophy that I don't pay good money to fall down.
Right.
And I've kind of stuck with that. Now, you and I did not talk about this because you went ahead and did your snow map.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually drew one up earlier today.
Right.
And so I didn't look at yours and you didn't look at mine.
Right.
And actually, ours are not really that different. They are fairly close as far as Sunday night into Monday morning.
I think the temperatures are going to be marginally cold. I think that this is going to be a fast mover. I think this is going to be one with limited amount of moisture. So I really didn't see much more than, let's say, an inch or two, mainly along and north of the Interstate 84 corridor. And further south, maybe just a coating to a slushy inch, and further south from there, south of New York City, it may be either a bit of mixed precipitation or rain, or maybe nothing at all. So.
Well, yeah, and I agree. There's a limited amount of upside if the atmosphere is a degree or two colder, and if the system is a little more juiced up. But you're talking about maybe instead of a tenth to 1500ths, you wind up with 2/10 of an inch of liquid, so somebody winds up pushing the envelope at about 2 inches or so. I would think that would be the absolute maximum.
We're gonna have the FOOS data available
shortly,
within a 5 or 6 minute period. And please, I was reminded by somebody earlier this week on Facebook, and actually they were in their element. They were saying, "Oh boy, only a few more weeks to go, and we'll go back on daylight saving time." And I hate that. That means that all of our data, that means that all of you who watch us and are looking for the very first pieces of new data
won't be there.
Won't be there.
An hour later.
It'll be an hour later.
By the way, one other thing I wanted to mention too, because I've seen this struck in conversations and in questions, and we all kind of view the world in our own personal environment, and some people are reaching conclusions that are so incorrect. Just because you might not be having the kind of winter you wanted where you are doesn't necessarily mean that other parts of the country aren't getting a winter that they may not have wanted, and that is, for example, up in the upper Midwest, in the northern and central plains. That's where all the cold air has been and continues to be. There's another cold high here on the surface map that's coming down. they've seen ample amounts of snow. I was talking with somebody who lives up in Wisconsin, and they were saying how it's been literally nonstop with this trough in the west. They're getting, everything is shooting up. These storms are tracking in a way that's one after another is bringing them snow and cold, snow and cold, snow and cold. And in the west has been pounded. I mean, from Seattle with a record February snowfall there, and you're measuring snows in feet in the mountains in the northwest, and even down into California in a lot of areas where the valleys are seeing snows, and even in those areas they don't normally see it. The snow levels have come down to under 1,000 feet in some places. So just because you're not getting, the entire world does not rotate around the I-95 corridor. Let's put it that way. So just bear that in mind.
You talk about persistence, and persistence here in our immediate area, the tri-state New York metropolitan area, has been for very light amounts of snow whenever a storm passes by, regardless of whether or not it was frigid ahead of the storm or coming in behind it. And we're looking at what else is new. We're getting a possible snow here on Sunday night. The best I think New York City can hope for is maybe an inch or two, maybe. And then the next system, as you pointed out, for Wednesday and Thursday, relatively similar to what we just went through this past week. New York City, what did New York City pick up? Of 1.1 inches or 1.2 inches? That could very well happen again. So it doesn't look like, you talk about persistence, whereas some places have been getting continuously pounded. We had been accustomed to seeing very light snowfalls here in our part of the country.
I just put up, Joe, this is the Pacific Jet. It's a 10-day loop. And you'll notice that for 7 out of those 10 days, that Pacific Jet doesn't go anywhere. It barely moves. Right toward the end of the period, 10 days from 7 to 10 days from now, you start to see some movement out there. But this has been the big issue for the East. Just look at how those colors you see, folks. Those are belts of strong winds, and the reddish color. Let me move this over so you can see the scale. The reddish colors are 120 to 150 knot winds, okay, in the upper atmosphere. I picked we're up at about 24,000 feet or so,
okay,
roughly.
Yeah.
But when we start, the loop starts from the beginning here, the first 7 days, so from now till a week from now, that Pacific Jet barely changes. Trough in the west, the ridges in the east, and the action out in the Pacific Ocean. Toward the end, you start to see a few things changing. But this I think really kind of says it all about all the things that are going on in the upper atmosphere. It really boils down to the mess in the Pacific and the mess in the Atlantic, because the Atlantic jet is just as bad.
And they just declared yesterday that we now are officially under El Nino conditions, albeit weak. But we are now officially in an El Nino pattern. But we're so far advanced into the winter season that it really, I don't think, is going to have any real factor in anything that is going to happen in the final weeks of meteorological winter, certainly.
Right. Okay, so we got enough of the NAM out to take us into Sunday evening. Now, of course, this system that's down in the Tennessee and Lower Ohio Valley, you can see how it just weakens as it moves east. This is tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. It's just gone and goodbye, and good riddance. And now, of course, the next system, from all that energy in the west, we're getting pieces getting kicked along, and now we're into Sunday morning. This is at 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Then by 7 o'clock Sunday evening, we're still not quite into it yet, but by 10 o'clock and by 1 o'clock in the morning, we're seeing some snow. And the new NAM actually looks like it has it a little bit warmer on this run.
Yeah.
So it has rain on Long Island and through most of New Jersey, and the snow just north of New York City on up to upstate New York and into New England.
Do they have a little bit of sleet in the lower Hudson Valley over parts of West Virginia?
There's a little snow at the start there, but who knows, Joe? If this is this is one of those situations. You're talking about a weak system. You could just have model variations where one run is a little warmer, the next run's a little colder. So we're really just going to have to wait to see what the temperature profiles are on Sunday afternoon and go from there. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of energy trying to figure out whether somebody's going to get a half an inch or 3/4 of an inch of snow or a 1/4 of an inch of snow.
Do we have time to, did we go past 60 hours? No, it's not.
57.
57. So the FOOS is not yet out. The tabular data.
All right, so why don't we do this? Let's go to the thing for Wednesday, because that's the next thing.
Okay.
And we can take the GFS with this. And it really does look a lot like what just happened. The GFS doesn't do it as well as the European. There actually is a primary that's probably going to run up toward the eastern lakes here. And you're going to get an area of snow that breaks out ahead of it. There's another big high that builds in Quebec. Cold air will be damming down the Appalachians. So maybe this time around there might be a longer period of snow, perhaps lasting more than a couple of hours. Maybe it lasts about 5 or 6 hours and then goes over to sleet and freezing rain and then ultimately to rain, and then it's done.
But there's a discontinuity here, because at least last night the European was poo-pooing the first shot on Wednesday and then changing its mind to putting more of an emphasis on the
You mean the first
Thursday.
shot on...
No, I'm talking about this system that's coming in. They actually had everything skirting underneath us on Wednesday,
Right.
and putting more of an emphasis on the push during Thursday in
Okay.
terms of precipitation. Then they changed that, and then...
Well, now this thing's moving along because there's still another round of energy coming in according to the GFS, and I think this is probably also not correct. It's going to be further to the left.
Yeah.
I don't see how you can get how you got a big ridge here in the east. I mean, it's unimaginable to me how we're going to wind up getting a big snowfall with an upper air that looks like this.
Right.
The deep trough to the west, big ridge in the east. The ridge barely gets dented by the energy that's coming eastward. You can barely find it. And then the ridge just builds even stronger as we go through the end of next week.
It's the potency of these systems hitting the west coast, and then just literally just like spitting out pieces that squirt, if I may use that term, eastward past us.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because of the speed and because of the modest amount of cold air and the overall dynamics to really pin down more than a few days in advance exactly what we're going to get. The best thing that we can tell you is that Wednesday, Thursday, sometime in that time frame, we're going to get a more potent system than what we're going to see on Sunday night. But please don't try to pin us down in terms of specific snow numbers, ice numbers, rain numbers, because I really don't think it's, it'll probably change or flip a few times.
Right. Or just think of what we had the last time, and that may be the outcome to some degree.
Right.
Here, just to look at the action in the west with that deep trough. This is for overnight into tomorrow and early Sunday. Now they're going to get a break as this energy gets pushed eastward, but then later this next week, here comes some more.
Right.
More energy dropping down southward and then getting kicked eastward. Here's another one next weekend. It's one after another, and yeah, all that snow up in places that normally don't see it.
Exactly. It's pretty wild. We had a mutual person who we used to know who always used to say in a situation like this, "Oh, it's absolutely wild."
Can we not go there, please?
All right.
All right. So you know what? I'll bring up the Le Fous. See if it's up yet. Hang on.
Ah, yes, the Twister
It is.
page.
Okay, so hold on. I will highlight LaGuardia for you. Okay.
Oh, so they give us almost 3/10 of an inch of moisture here.
3/10 of an inch, 0, -1, +1, and then 0, 0, and 0. Vertical motions are so-so. It's 0, -3, -1 going into it.
But look at the 500, Joe. It's above 540, so that's where I think that they're generating that mixed precipitation pattern.
Could be. On the other hand, if you get a little more vertical motion in there, you could correct some of that.
Yeah.
Look, I think it could be just run-to-run variation. Where one runs are a little warmer, one run is a little lower. Just for laughs, Philadelphia only gets 1300ths, and they are 0 +3 +4, so they're rain. So that there's no issue there. Boston gets 2400ths, and they're snow. So they may start playing catch up out of it. They may wind up with a few inches out of this.
Right.
So they're -2, -7, -5, and then -1, -5, -6. So that's all snow for them. So that's 2400ths there. So 2900ths for LaGuardia. Let's see. let's see how the bottom of the atmosphere behaves going forward through the weekend, and then we can, you know, we can massage these numbers down to the quarter inch if you'd like. I mean, this is crazy.
And looking at the afternoon run of the European, they push the freezing line during Thursday well north of the tri-state area. So whatever we get, let's say Wednesday into Wednesday night, presumably the freezing line will go north toward the tail end. I don't know. Who the heck knows? You know, as I said, it's not worth getting all crazy.
Carl Roberts asks, how is this going to affect the roads? Well, you got to believe that there's. Look, I'm not going to be satisfied until they're out there catching every flake before it lands. Okay, I mean, you know, there's so much salt on the ground from the salting that they've done over the last couple of months for the non-events. How is it that anything could stick is beyond me.
I wonder if Governor Murphy in New Jersey, if there's still enough calcium chloride or brine or whatever they use in New Jersey, because you just mentioned virtually everything from the mention of a snow flurry to a significant ice or snow event. They've been pounding down that stuff on virtually every roadway.
Well, look who's on. Shh. He's on. He's watching.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Terrence Cardinal Fitzgerald. Oh, my. What are we going to do here? And he's awake, too.
Well, you know.
He's
you stay up past his bedtime now on a
Friday night. Well, it's a Friday night. He can. My buddy Mike Panici caught, I'm not going to say where, Michael. I know better. But my buddy Mike Panici caught a nice brook trout today. I think he said was it 19 inches, Mike? 19-inch brook trout, but I'm not going to say where.
Okay, all right.
Because if I'm
just looking at all of your top.
If I do say where, Michael is like much bigger than I am, and I wouldn't. No, I won't live.
So if you break the secret or whatever,
no,
after you, or whatever.
No.
You can always take the fifth.
No.
I'm just looking at all of your top fans here that are.
Yes, and just so you folks know, Facebook is doing that. I guess they figure out who's on the page and interacts and comments a lot and joins the live streams, and their algorithms have selected almost 300 folks on my Facebook page and labeled them as top fans. Like Lenny Fazio is a top fan, and James Hallmark, and Gary Brungard, and Timothy Veltman, all top fans. And Lawrence W. Card is a top fan as well. So thanks, thank you very much. You guys did it yourselves. I'm appreciative that you're on here watching us on a regular basis. So Rocco Fridella, you're not listed as a top fan, so we got to work on that. Okay. I'm just trying to. Any other questions and comments?
I know that nobody's really overly excited about even the event coming up on Sunday, because I don't see any of these tremendous numbers that are watching.
Timothy Veltman points out that the 3-kilometer dam, has a potential for a decent snowfall up in Albany, and here again goes to what I said before: is the fact that the world does not rotate around the I-95 corridor,
right.
And there are a lot of areas not that far that you can just get into your car for a nice day drive, and you could find spots that
go on the Northway.
Yeah,
so
exactly. It's not that far up. If it was in season, you could stop at Saratoga and put in a bet.
Yeah.
Although I think you can go to the harness track, and you got the casino over there.
At this late, early time frame?
I think they harness race all year round up there.
Really?
They harness race, not the thoroughbreds.
The trotters?
The trotters.
The trotters, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So look, it's Friday night. It's 9:40. We got a show to do at the top of the hour. So why don't we say good night? Oh, let me just say, by the way, really quick. Thank you. What's
no, I'm just reminding people that they can get your.
Oh yes, including you.
Right.
Did you get it? Because
my daughter, who is the computer brain of the family, is coming home tonight. I will hand this to her.
Well,
and she will.
Let me just check, because I just hit. I'm just going to check to see. Hang on a second. Yep, I did it. Okay, so I just had my 2,000th download. So 2,000 people have downloaded the app. It's available for all mobile devices, and all you got to do, folks, is go to Google Play if you've got an Android and just search either meteorologist Joe Chaffee or just put in Joe Chaffee and it will come up. And if you're on the App Store, which is where Joe has to go, to the App Store on his very, very latest model telephone, by the way. You can go on the App Store, you have to do meteorologist Joe Chaffee and it'll come up.
I had a big argument with both my wife and my daughter about them demanding that I get an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally I took this because they wouldn't allow me to get a jitterbug.
I would listen if you had. I would not speak to you. Can you just for laughs? Do you know how to turn it on?
Ta-da!
Oh, good
and then
God!
With a solar eclipse too. That's my daughter. My daughter said this is the perfect wallpaper for Dad, and so there you go.
Well, that's very good. So, all right, folks. So look, have a great weekend. I'll be on from time to time, Saturday and on Sunday, either on YouTube or with the regular posts, or you can just go on the app and watch the live streams from there and take a look at the latest forecast and the National Weather Service snow forecast maps, because as we all know, everybody loves to forecast shop. You can get all of them from Maine down to northern Georgia, should it ever snow all the way down again in northern Georgia. They're all on there on the app as well. So have a great weekend. You have a great weekend.
Right. We'll be here on Monday, the holiday.
Yes. Brian Fitzgerald, you have a great weekend too. And we will see. Who's on this weekend?
I believe the usual
Andrew Pinheiro and Jonathan Cubitt will be keeping things up to date both Saturday and Sunday. So enjoy yourselves, folks, and Joe and I will be back on Monday.